Hey, good evening, everybody. How's it going? You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
All good, cheers, mate.
Awesome. Let me just turn up my volume. I can't hear you guys. Good evening.
Yeah,
Good
all
evening.
good.
All right, just give me a couple minutes, guys. I just want to get a drink. And I'll start sharing my screen already, though. You guys can take a look at it. Suki's taking over Discord. Uh-oh. Actually, I hope Suki's in here because that's some good trade ideas sometimes. Just to start off, I hope you guys are all having like a good trading week so far. Good month so far. Or I mean, it's end of the month. Hope you had a good month. And yeah, I was gonna say, so today we're gonna be focusing on March 10th onward. We're kind of picking up from where we left off last session. And can you guys see my screen okay? Let me know in the chat if you can see my screen. Okay, perfect. Set this up too. We'll get started. Okay, I'll be right back, guys. Alrighty, cool. It's weird. I kind of lost the. Oh, there's our participants. Okay, just want to make sure that we wait a little bit till people get in here. You can see the chat. Cool. So same as last time, guys. What I'm gonna do is we're just gonna start rolling with it. I actually want to focus a little bit on like 15-minute and 5-minute POIs a little bit because I think it's something that is kind of relevant to like how EU's been trading the past week or so, 2 weeks. It's been pretty rangy. If you guys remember, I mean, if you're trading it actively, you know what I'm talking about. So I want to focus on that. And yeah, I mean, we'll do like lower time frame entries and stuff, but I kind of want to like keep the focus on, liquidity, structure on the 15, that kind of thing. Might not be as relevant because I'm pretty sure this like trends pretty hard on the 4-hour. So it's not like we'll neglect the 4-hour either, but yeah, we can open for questions probably in, I don't know, I'd say 15, 20 minutes or maybe longer, 30 minutes. Let's get the ball rolling though and see if we can catch anything. And yeah, as always, if you guys want to annotate on the screen, you're welcome to do it. Just make sure you use the box tool and let me know where you'd like to enter and we can slap some trades on it. I'm good with kind of taking the Aaron approach or just taking everything. We'll see what works. And it'll help, I think, build the trading psychology a little bit for you guys like we did last time. We're okay with taking losses. It's all within our larger trading plan, or at least the trading plan that I'm kind of using to play off of this. So yeah, let's get started. So I'll just push to, I think we're in New York session already. Okay, that's fine. We'll just start from here. It looks like we have some sort of news. Let me quickly pull it up and just see. I don't know where my news window went. That's weird. Oh, here it is. CPI. Okay. So I'm going to like stay out of this. Again, we're going to treat this like we would a real market, right? Not necessarily going to look to try and trade high impact news. But we can start marking out 15-minute structure. So I'll start doing that. I'll just use the pen tool for this, honestly, because it's a little bit easier. So without being able to see like previous price action that much, let's see. Let's actually start out with structure for you guys a little bit. So I've marked out this 4-hour zone, which looks like it like just barely tapped into. Hasn't tapped that deep into it, so I'm gonna wait a little bit. I don't know like what session this happened in. Potentially there was maybe like a short here. It just seems like price is pretty corrective on the downside, at least in like mid time frame price action. So something to be a little bit worried. And now we're pushing up. Okay. So let me mark out 15-minute structure for you guys. 4-hour is obviously bearish, and you guys can see that. Oh, I didn't even mark the 4-hour properly. We'll do the last buy before sell candle here. Clone that. So we haven't even tapped into, we're actually building a lot of liquidity sitting above this 4-hour zone. So this is a nice spot. We can look to potentially trade if we get our like lower time frame model showing itself. So in terms of 15-minute structure though, I'm going to look at this as my low, high, low, high. I'm going to gloss over that because that's not much of a pullback. Call this my low, my high, lower, low, right? This one, yeah, it's enough of a pullback for me. I just like to start out with structure a little bit further back. All right, let's just pause it so that we can get a full picture of what's happening. And that way we're not potentially marking out substructure and not even realizing it. So you got to be careful of that. It's good to like what I typically do or what I've been doing recently is I'll look for the trend change on the 15-minute and mark that up leading up to what current price action is. So if we're in current like bullish or what seems to be bullish price action, I'm going to look for the bearish price action, mark it all up and see where the actual shift happened. And then I can figure out what current leg that I'm in. If that makes sense. To a degree, like marking up structure can be a little bit subjective. I've seen people kind of like mark out just swing highs and lows like this, which I mean is okay. I mean, at least that lets you try to like take certain zones like this, which potentially might work, right? But for this one, I'm just doing structure mapping to like we always do, which is essentially just looking for candle closures above or below previous highs or lows, major highs or lows. So I think with that being said, this is kind of a fail to break for me. I mean, it kind of closes, but I'm not really going to count it as much as I'm going to count the break of this and this and consider this my leg. So I'm not going to look at it like this necessarily because I still like, you know, there's still the possibility that price could come tap into this. So I'm going to be a little bit more broad with it. So for me, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to look for the origin of it. So this is my current price action leg that we're in. And if we come tap into this, which is the 4-hour, again, we can expect potential bearish price action because we built liquidity here. But again, I'm not going to try and predict what's going to happen. We're going to react to what happens. So if we start seeing like 5-minute breaks of structure on this or a change of character, really all a change of character is, I know this is a commonly like asked question. All a change of character is, remember, is basically a liquidity sweep and then a break of structure on the other side. And that's kind of what we're looking for on the lower time frame entry model on the 5-minute within our like 4-hour zones, right? And same thing, honestly, with you know, the 1 minute or whatever. If we're looking at maybe taking longs, right, in bullish price action. So we know this is our current low and our high. You know, it's a little loose. Or if you want to count this as your current like price action, like you can do that. But now we've closed above it, right? So now I'm going to look at this as my current low and my current high. So technically we'd be counter trend to the 15-minute, but again, because we're tapping into a 4-hour, there's a good chance we might react to it. Granted, it is a bearish 4-hour leg too. So just a quick lesson on structure for you guys. It's obviously a very important component to trading. And if you're not good at it, practice it. I still practice it myself. It's important. So let's look here on, I'm going to wait until we get at least a 5-minute substructure break. I don't need this low necessarily to break to try and take a short here. But, you know, if we get like a change of character, which we are potentially getting here, right? There's our sweep. Looks like we've even just retested this. If this breaks below, then I'm going to look in this leg here for potential entries. So let's do it. And we'll be like generous about placing limits on this because I want to try and catch them. I'm okay with taking losses on the way. 5-minute substructure would technically be this wick low here. You guys can see that. But looks like we're failing to break it. We could even refine to the 15-minute. There are a couple places I'd look. There's this one here, which we just tapped into. Unfortunately, we can't analyze it on the 5-minute and like zoom back into that. And now we've actually got like a nice break here. This is a little bit like a little bit late into New York session. It's not too bad. Oh no, sorry. This is only 9 a.m. Okay, so we're good. Yeah, whoever marked that out, I definitely like that. There is liquidity kind of sitting above it, but you know what? Like we got our break. If it sweeps us, then we can always play the sweep, right? I really like taking sweeps and sweep retests. Those are really good. So we'll set a limit on there. I don't know if it's going to work. Doesn't matter. We'll cover the high. Do is this 5 pip stop loss? We'll do 5.2. Okay, so let's give that a quick go. Just make sure we're doing 0.5% risk, not half a lot. Done that in the past. And we'll rewind on this one a little bit too, because again, I want to like drive the point home. You know, we're focusing more on POIs, and we want to see how we can enter those POIs, right? So it's not a matter of like the focus of this call in particular is not about snagging like the perfect entry or anything like that. It's more to focus on, yeah, the POIs, 15-minute structure, 5-minute POIs and structure as well. So I honestly, I don't pay attention to 5-minute structure all that much. 15 is more important to me. Yeah, so it looks like it didn't tap it. It did get a nice reaction though. And ended up tapping a decisional here, which is cool. We'll let that one slide. It's not a big deal. Yeah, the minute we start breaking lower here, remember we are bullish, right? You guys remember what I was saying? Again, I like to, in a way, consolidate kind of the price action that we're looking at. So I'm always gonna, like, I'm gonna tend to like look at this as my low and this is my high, and this being, remember our previous bullish structure, right? Because we broke this structural point, I'm okay with taking that. Definitely, that's a decisional area, and then or a or proximal, and then you have your distal, which is further away, right? Your extreme zones here, right? Which is another 15 minutes. So we'll kind of play with that. Let's see if we can maybe snag along. We are kind of getting late in the session, but again, we can be pretty liberal about like putting on positions. It's not a big deal. For this one, I just want to quickly mention, so this lower time frame entry here, there is a good chance that there was something on the seconds here that would kind of tell you, okay, this is going to work. Granted, you know, like you do have a little bit of liquidity sitting above here and the extreme that's unmitigated. So it's a bit more of an aggressive trade. What would have kept me out of it and what did keep me out of it is the fact that this doesn't really, it's not even a flip zone. We don't even touch this. I guess unless you mark out this whole thing, but then you could argue this is our flip zone, this is our flip zone, right? So that's just the nature of it. Sometimes we're not going to be able to catch it. That's okay. We can look for our, we actually got a liquidity sweep already, which is pretty nice on the 1 minute. So I'll mark that out. Can't remember who marked this out. The 15-minute bullish candle, but it's definitely good. So here's kind of what I'm looking at for this. So we can look at it as our 5, like we can refine it a little bit. Got a 5-minute here that's sitting within like the POI, right?
Hello.
All right, and let's see.
Hello,
And what I'm
guys.
kind of, hey, what's up, man? Can you hear me? I mean, I can hear
Sure,
you.
sure.
What's up? Do you have a question? Okay, I think I don't think he knows he's unmuted. If you guys don't mind, mute your mics if you're not asking a question, just so we don't have like background noise for the recording. And I think for everybody that's in here too, trying to learn, try to be respectful of them. So yeah, a couple places we can look at. There's also the wick that I'd potentially consider, but we're gonna analyze this on the 1 minute as well to kind of see if there's. Sorry, I'm getting confused with the tools here. I'm using the Zoom tools. We're gonna analyze this on the 1 minute. It actually does look half decent. There's kind of an unmitigated, yeah, it hasn't touched it. There's an unmitigated extreme kind of sitting here, but we did get like this nice sweep of liquidity into this tiny 1 minute candle as well. And we got a 1 minute. Yeah, kind of. I would have wanted to see this. I'm kind of echoing. Lewis, do you mind muting? I'll just mute you. Please mute your mic, guys, if you're not asking a question or anything. It's I don't want to get speech jam. The echo kind of throws me off. Okay,
Mate,
so
we lost
yeah.
your share, mate.
What's that?
We lost your share. I think something is going wrong. I don't know if the other people has it.
Oh, did my screen stop sharing?
Yeah, I can't see it either.
Yeah, we don't see.
Okay, here. How about that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
I might have hit stop by accident. Sorry about that.
All right.
Cool. Thanks for letting me know. So yeah, we did get a change of character. It's a bit aggressive because we didn't really close above this. Like I see what you're talking about. For me, I think what I'd rather see, and we can always take the risk too, right? Because we did sweep liquidity into a POI, right? And that POI tapped into this and we swept liquidity here. There's a lot of like things potentially that tell me this is probably going to hold and that we can take as a risk entry that's like decently, I would say mid probability, because we've already got our lower time frame entry model sort of playing out. But yeah, if we want to be a little bit on the more cautious side, we could always wait till we like maybe break this high here that I've marked out, and then we can set the limit. But otherwise, you could just take the retest if you're feeling really aggressive about it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set it anyways and be a little bit more aggressive because again, I want to get in a lot of positions here for the sake of the call. That being said, like nothing wrong with being conservative too. That's a decent long so far. It looks. I'm going to pull the short because that's kind of invalid in a way now. I mean, it could come retested, but then we'd be countered to 15-minute trend. Right? And remember, so just want to mention this is pretty late in the session as well, so wouldn't necessarily be looking to trade this. I don't trade New York anyways, but I've done it in the past. I have experience doing it. It's just a little bit harder to time, right? This looks like it's doing pretty good. We are counter trend, so I'm going to look to actually target probably this level up here, if not a little bit sooner. Could even take partial. We had a bit of a big stop loss there too, but one thing I will do is we'll set break even on this. This is a counter trend, counter to 4-hour trend trade, right? So I want to be a little bit careful of that. But once we hit 5R, which we just did, I'm just going to pull off 80% of this. Again, I know we are with 15-minute bullish structure, but looking at the overall like higher time frame picture, like I have a feeling this might hold. Or maybe we'll tap into one of these 15-minute zones above. Maybe we'll sweep this liquidity, right? So actually, we'll pull 0.5% on that one, or sorry, 50% of the position on that. And if it blows through this zone, then great. If it doesn't, whatever. At least we took some profit on it. We're risking 0.5%, right? So, oh, sorry, I had the chat closed. Let me pull this up. You guys have questions, probably. Okay, so we changed the character again. Like I mentioned before, I'm gonna let this run while I explain. It's pretty simple. So say we're in a bullish type of trend. It could be on any time frame, mind you. All we're looking for really is liquidity to build, whether it's like structural liquidity, equal highs, equal lows, whatever it is, right? And then a sweep of that liquidity, right? This could, again, even be on the 1 minute. So we're looking for our initial sweep of liquidity and then sort of a sweep of liquidity or break of like the recent substructure, like swing point to the downside. So it's really just this. That's what a change of character is. This is a bearish scenario, obviously, from bullish to bearish, right? It tells us potentially order flow is shifting to the downside, and we can look to start taking shorts. And then on the flip side, also it looks like this long is working out pretty good. We'll hold it till the next day. On the flip side, if we're in a bearish market, bearish structure, right, we're breaking lows, lower highs, right? This liquidity, structural liquidity that's kind of sitting here. If we build liquidity like this, again, like liquidity comes in different forms. Obviously, you have your structural, you have your like trend line liquidity, which would be kind of something like this, right? And then you have your equal highs and lows. But we'll do trend line for this example. I see liquidity building here, right? People covering their stop losses for longs, right? They're maybe a little bit premature. And we see they get swept out, right? And then we break this high. That's a change of character. So it's essentially like this for a bullish scenario, right? This is in the FAQ too. If you guys have, any further confusion about it. Sorry, what's up?
I have a question.
Sure, what's up?
So would you consider a change of character to be confirmation entry?
I can't really hear your mic's kind of low. Do you mind typing it? I have my volume maxed out too, and I can't really understand what you're saying. Type it in the chat if you don't mind, and I'll try to understand what you're saying. Okay, sorry. So let me pause this because we're getting into Frankfurt now. Yeah, check the fact, Claudio. I don't use DXY. I used to use it, but to me, it's just honestly kind of a distraction in a way. Not that like you can't, like I know a lot of traders that use it too, but for me, I'd rather just focus on the pair and the price action for what it is and trade what I see, right? Rather than look for correlations and stuff, because it's just something I don't typically look at. What are we reacting from on the higher time frame? I couldn't tell you. Probably something to the left though. I don't remember. Unfortunately, I don't have like the historic data that we can see, but potentially we were tapping into something. And even if we weren't, there's a possibility that we're just trading away from a trap too, right? Remember, we don't need to tap into a POI on the higher time frame for us to necessarily shift order flow, right? So imagine if this is the 4 hour. What could have happened is we got a higher time frame sweep of liquidity, and then now we're starting to react here, right? So it's a BFI, just whether they tapped into a zone here to fill orders or not, like it could be just playing all that liquidity, right? And it's essentially a bear trap, right? Bears selling, right? And they sweep all the liquidity from that's sitting here from anybody who previously longed it. They took it out and now they can take it in the direction they want. Right? Yeah, definitely a change of character is similar to a confirmation entry. It really depends on your plan and how it's structured though. In terms of like your lower time frame entry model. So let's look at 15-minute structure again and kind of look at some more POIs. I'm going to clear everything here because this is getting really messy. This one held, which is nice, and that's where we got in. So that's a good trade, good first trade. So in terms of structure again, I'm going to map it out for you guys. Remember, this was our high, this was our low. I look to like sort of, again, like these are all like substructural levels, right? So I'm not like super interested in necessarily considering this my low. I'm still maybe interested in like, this, if it ever does come tap down to. That being said, obviously we're shifting like order flow on the 15-minute bearish if we do come into that. But again, we're looking for a CE and then we'll look for a, oh cool, McLovin's here. What's up, McLovin? We're looking for a CE and that's going to keep us out of like the majority of like counter trend trades that don't really work. And even if we do take them, we take the L, that's fine. Like, I mean, look, we're already running about 6R on this and we took half a percent, or sorry, 50% of our position off, right? We didn't even get a very tight stop on this. Like how many lots we do? 10, and we're now at like 4.63. Yeah, again, to the person who was trying to ask a question over the mic, if you want to type the question, I just couldn't hear you. I don't know if you can hear me, but I want to make sure I try and answer your question because that's the whole point of these calls, right? But anyways, yeah, let me mark out structure in the meantime for the 15-minute. So I'll look at this as my low, this is my high, then we break this, right? So technically, now I would look at this as my low, right? Because this has been mitigated. Again, potentially this could come tap into it like I mentioned before. We can maybe look at it later if it does, but I don't know if it will. Again, that would be like counter trend. This is a bit of an aggressive way to like, this is an aggressive POI, honestly, but it is kind of unmitigated, right? Like it's sitting here, could tap into it. Based on this break, if I look at this as my current low and whatever our floating high is, we can expect that price is going to pull back, within this equilibrium. Either it's going to pull back a little bit and continue up if there's high momentum, or we're going to pull back all the way to the extreme or to something in the EQ, right? So McLovin, I think you marked out a couple zones or this zone here. So I'll mark it out in MT4. That's not the one you picked, but I'm just marking that out. Yeah, this one. So two areas we can definitely look at. You could argue that this has been tapped into because I'd like to like ideally include this last bear before bullish push, right? Which we did tap into. But It's not to say that this isn't some small mid time frame liquidity that could get swept. And maybe we'll come into something on the 5-minute here, right? Like this extreme. So we'll mark that out too. Again, we'll try to play it. We'll try to like time it with the session, right? We're in Frankfurt / London Open right now. So we can look to take either of these, honestly. This looked like it maybe worked out decently. Though, the other thing I want to mention, right? Like this is a pretty important concept that I try to, drive home with you guys. And I think it's something that Sam and Albert always talk about is premium discount, right? Technically, these are in the premium. We could do it. It's just, remember again, actually, look, it looks like we've just now closed bullish over this on the 4 hours. So that's kind of good. And there's also the wick. Yeah. Again, there's so many ways you can look at it, right? So it's not about trying to guess, right? We're going to try and react and try to have the market show its hand on the lower time frame before we enter anyways. So let's play it forward a little bit. Let's see what happens and see if we can maybe tap into one of these zones. But I have a feeling it's just going to keep running. Or maybe it'll react off of this wick. Let's see. Maybe price will take a pit stop, take a little break at the wick, 4 hour, right? Which is this high here. We were actually in this 15-minute POI. And then maybe it'll pull back. Now I'd say that we actually broke some major structure there too. So at least on the 15-minute. We closed above this high. Yeah, so it's taking off. Looks like this was the play here. But yeah, I don't think I would have necessarily taken it. It's a little aggressive. Again, because this is in premium, right? This is my EQ, right? It's the midline, it's the top. So that's cool. Like Lovin, you were close. And price is just shooting off, so. Do I mark highs and lows as weak or strong? Not really. It's more like if I see it get kind of tapped into, or like based on the context of the price action, then I'll kind of consider it in my head as weak or low. Though it's not a bad habit to mark out your weak highs and lows. It's just not something that I do pretty often. I think it's kind of a subconscious thing for me. So now we're in London lull. Yeah, that's definitely a good one. So let's continue to map out 15-minute structure, right? Again, that's the focus of this call. So the minute we closed above this swing high, right? Or I think, oops, is it this one? This swing high, right? We closed here. What broke it? You could say this, but I'm going to say this, right? So within this leg, again, like now, if price comes down to these, I'm going to wait till like, ideally we break to like bullish structure if we're going to try and take something like that. It's so out of the way now, unless it's a 4-hour POI, in which case like that's my only exception to it. And it actually might be. I think this is a 4-hour POI. It's really messy though. But yeah, let's mark out some of your zones. Sorry, I don't know if somebody marked this out. It actually looks like it's potentially going to work. And right at New York Open too. Granted, we're also hitting like news again. European Central Bank conference, core retail sales. So, I mean, we'll play it, but careful trading high impact news in the live market, please. Don't get slipped. So I'll rewind a little bit because I know somebody marked it out. So I was talking, so I didn't really get a chance to set an entry on it. That being said, we don't even really need to, we could set a risk entry. It's up to you guys. Or we can wait for like a CE. What do you guys think? Type in the chat what you want to do. Should we take a risk entry off this 15-minute, or should we wait for a CE? This is also a flip zone too, because this was a previous supply. CE, okay. You know what? We'll do both because it looks like you guys want to do both. With the majority of you wanting to do CE, so we'll do a little experiment on this one. And we kind of know what's going to happen already, and we could get slipped too. So just keep mindful of that. We're going to do, we'll refine it a little bit. This is all mitigated to me. Actually, no, it's not. This doji here, you see it on the 5-minute. But I'm going to cover it We'll do 5.3 pips. Let's see if we stay in on that. So we'll do the risk and then we'll do the CE too if it comes deeper into it. But you guys see why potentially that's going to work, right? If we're looking at like structure again, or just to drive that point home, this is our low, this is our high. This is right at the EQ of it. So that's good. There's also this zone that we could potentially play off of, which is the retest of the original zone that like basically caused this move up, right? So let's see. Oh, and then obviously you got liquidity being built here, which is nice. So that's a very important thing to know. We'll let that play. I'll speed up price a little bit. Okay, we're in. Now we can start observing on the 1 and 5 minute for potentially a CE on that. So we're going to be a little bit aggressive here. And what I'm going to do is take a trade similar to what I took this morning, which was just a retest of, and honestly, this is a more advanced way of like entering trades. So please be careful of this and test it if you are going to like add it to your trade plan. I wouldn't even suggest doing it unless you're like profitable with just regular CE. But what I did this morning on the EU short, if you guys are like in the intraday chat, just kind of like sharing it as I was doing it, is I just took a retest of the FU, right? Because this is a whole liquidity sweep into a POI. Like that's pretty nice to me. So we'll give it like a somewhat decently wide stop. Right, I still want to cover like the rest of this 5 minute. It's essentially the same as the original risk entry. Let's see if we get tapped into that.
Yeah, Albo, I got a question.
Yeah, what's up, man?
So in this area, would you favor this kind of doji here or this little candle here?
Not necessarily. I know sometimes people look at wicks, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's good because obviously if you look on the lower time frame, all wicks are, or efficient price action in a way, are lower time frame like supply or demand zones a lot of the time, right? So this wick here that you're mentioning, like look, if we mark it out, I'll show you what I'm talking about. Whoops, wrong tool. This tool. We mark that out and we look on the 1 minute. What is it? There you go. There's some like sell candles in there, right? These are demand zones for sure. They're not necessarily like the highest probability for me, but I mean, there are like a lot of instances and scenarios where like these hold and they never come down to like the distal or extreme zones, right? Or demand zones. But for me personally, like I don't really trade off of them. Like it's probably better to look at wicks on a relatively higher time frame. So 5 minutes, okay, but I'd rather look at it like on the 15 minute if we're like in a super bullish leg. And you can investigate on the 5 and 1 minute and see if there is a demand zone in that leg, right? So let me illustrate that for you, right? So if we're in the 15 minute, right? Pretend this is a 15-minute candle. We're in a bullish leg, right? Something like that. Here is going to be a 5 minute, more than likely like bearish candle, right? That's a bearish candle. I kind of drew there, which is a rally-based rally. So yeah, it's not something I'm overtly going to look for. I prefer like last sell before buy. I like things that are clear, right? So whatever makes sense to you, do it. Potentially if you took that and you'd covered the low with enough buffer, I mean, you'd be good, but is it really the right place to enter when we know it's this 1 minute that actually reacted? Right, I know we kind of approximated like where we thought it was going to hit, and I took the re-entry, and we're now getting a reaction off of it. I got New York open, mind you, but I'd rather try to be accurate and actually call what the proper like level is, right? And again, like we're talking about risk entries here, but with oh yeah, I know there's news too. I know you guys are mentioning that. The thing is with this, like I'd rather wait for like a CE like this than try to like call which demand is going to hold, right? Because you have potentially, if you're looking at wicks, so you're looking at 1, 2, 3, even 4 if this is a wick, which it wasn't on the 5 minute. 3 to 4 places that you can pick from. Like good luck. It's kind of hard to pick which one. What are you going to do? Set 4 limit orders and take 3 L's just to take. I mean, you could do it. You'd probably be profitable doing it still, but it's not easy psychologically to I think anyways, to try and
Yeah,
take a
but the
trade
thing
like
is,
Yeah.
I get confusion sometimes when it's like there is this area which we can say this sell candle is a mother for that inside bar, or let's say that doji,
Yeah,
and
for
the
sure.
price just like start to just doing a lot of change of characteristics in that area, and that's when I step in and I just use the premium and discount, but
Yeah.
90 out of 100 is gonna fail.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of experience too, right? Like the more that you practice and train your brain to interpret price action a certain way, the better you're going to be able to call which like zone potentially it's going to tap into. I mean, again, that's for risk entries, right? You can always wait for a CE at the end of the day, like we did here, right? I don't think this is going to work, by the way. We're building way too much liquidity, but we'll hold it. We'll accept our risk on this one. Yeah, looks like it's going to break down. And potentially we could have hit BE on that one too, but oh, you know what it was? Okay. Sorry, this is kind of like short-sighted on my part. I think we tapped into a 4-hour zone here. Yeah, anyways, again, to sort of like drive home my point, wait for a CE, right? Like we got a good like, yeah, we got a like super liquidity. I'll actually rewind this a little bit and take some partials on that because that kind of sucks. I think if I'd been aware of this, you know, I don't want to say like this too much in hindsight, but we did tap into this 4-hour and that would have actually kind of deterred me. And I would have looked for shorts a little bit. We're in New York session too. Granted, I know we had like news and stuff. I'll just close half of pretty much all of these. Do it that way. We take a little bit out of it and we can look for shorts a little bit too. Oh shit, I did the wrong one. This one. So I didn't give myself obviously the full high here, but another thing to note, right? So knowing that we're in this 4-hour zone again, and we kind of tapped into it early here, and we could refine it to the 15-minute, but it's a little hard to do. We'll mark it here. This is obviously an approximation. I can't actually see what we're doing. Without me scrolling back, it's going to take way too long. But you can see here what I marked out, right? Liquidity, our sweep, right? This all happened during the ECB press conference, right? That news. And look, we retested on the 5-minute, right? So this is what I mean by FU retests working pretty well. These are premature in that we're not waiting necessarily for a change of character. I mean, you kind of get it if you want to be really aggressive on the 1-minute. Right, if we zoom in here, I'll mark out what I mean. Right, if you're looking just at like, you know, basically this sweep and this break, right? But that's not like the best, right? For me, I'd probably prefer that we break this low, which we do, right? And then we can look to start shorting off of any of these zones, right? But as you see here, we also built liquidity, we swept, and then we retested this, and that sells off and takes out all this liquidity that previously built, right? So it's really just liquidity to sort of fuel the short position, right? I'm not going to rewind and say that we caught any of these shorts, but I think Gloria just marked out this zone. Sure, let's try it, right? Again, we're still within like this 1-minute leg, so to speak. But if you're looking at like microstructure, yeah, broken a few levels there, true, which is okay. It's enough to show us that there's like bearish intent, right? And again, it's all predicated off of the fact that we technically broke 5-minute substructure too, right? Because we closed below this low, right? But this would have been our low and our high. Didn't break above it. We swept, kind of failed to break, right? And again, we built a lot of liquidity here at this level. So set these BE as well so that we kind of mitigate some of those losses. You should be doing that, I think, anyways. Again, it's depending on like what your trade plan is and how you manage trades, but I usually like to like BE trades that are kind of far away from my position in the off chance that they do come back. Like, why take a loss on that, right? If your trade idea was invalid, you might as well protect yourself from drawdown a little bit. It's just no point. But yeah, so let's try shorting that. Like, this is really just a continuation, right? You guys understand that? Oh shoot, sorry, let's do sell limit. So we're gonna try Gloria's position here. 4.4 pip. Can't remember if it retests that. Okay, so I'm gonna mark out 15 again here. Right, because we broke this low. So now I'm looking at, either you could look at this as the high, but really I'm gonna look at the sweep. I'm gonna include all of it. So be interested in that or this for shorts. So that's just what I'm thinking. We'll leave your limit on Gloria. I don't think it's bad. We can also maybe place a limit on this SD flip zone. Yeah, exactly. Pete got it. You got the idea. I'm gonna be kind of loose with it. Yeah, I want to show you guys, you don't need 1 pip stop losses to make money in the market. You really don't. Okay. It's built liquidity, but it looks like momentum's starting to really take over here. So, oh, okay, there we go. We're in. We're out. Okay, Gloria's position. Let's see. Okay, we're out. It's okay. So the question is, what did we tap into there? And is it going to hold? Looks like it was the wick here. Yeah,
So the thing is that this high was so strong to hold, maybe for a short.
Yeah, for the short term, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like we really just created a temporary pullback. Remember, we're bullish, right, on the 4 hour, even though we tapped into a bearish 4 hour. So really, we just pulled back, right? This is the pullback on the 15 minute. And now we're starting to push higher. So we can look at potentially, yeah, there you go. It's really going up. Potentially, the next place that we can look at is this zone here. If it even comes to it. I don't know if it will, but there's always the chance that, remember, like if we look at this, I don't have the daily chart marked or like pulled up or anything, but the way that you could look at this as well is on the daily time frame, right? You could just be pulling back like this, and you could do something like that as well, right? It doesn't have to come to any of these zones. It doesn't have to come to the extreme. It's going to pull back, and then it's most likely going to continue in the same direction and continue the trend, right? Because to do an actual trend change, or to change the actual trend of an instrument like this, like, costs a lot of money, right? So keep running that. Let's see. Can push to the next day, actually, because it's kind of out of session for us now. Okay, so there's Frankfurt. So let's reanalyze this. Now 4 hours is getting a little bit messy, honestly. It looks like we kind of swept this high, right? Which again potentially would have had like a little bit of liquidity sitting above it. Yeah, so I mean it's very I don't know what you're drawing there, but it's very like rangy. It's consolidating for me. So I'm going to look on the 15 minute instead and just try to play 15-minute price action a little bit. So again, what's the theme of this call? We're looking at 15-minute structure and POIs, right? So I don't know if you guys remember, I think this was the low that I marked out here. That was our high, that broke, right? That confirms this low, right? Because what was the origin of it? No, you couldn't say this because this comes before this high. So I wouldn't call that our low. This is our low, right? It's our pullback in this leg, right? So it's kind of like this. I just want to illustrate it for you guys who are maybe new. And even for those of you that are experienced, like there's nothing wrong with brushing up on structure, like ingrain it in your head, right? Yeah, now we're within this leg, right? We've also got liquidity sitting above here. I think price is probably going to continue up in the same fashion it's been doing. It's good that it's kind of corrective. It's not like it's like super impulsive or anything. So I don't think we'll necessarily hit price exhaustion. It's taking its time. It's like somewhat healthy, right? But yeah, in terms of POIs, now we can start looking at definitely like this zone here. The wick, like Pete said, you can definitely look at. I don't think it's the worst idea. This failed, obviously, right? But then this is all substructure. So let's see. Let's see what happens. I'll mark them out. Just delete some of these though. So we're getting a little messy again. And we'll use the box tool. Mark out your wicks, Pete. I know you want to see what happens. It's probably a 5-minute. I don't know, it's wicks on the 5-minute. So I mean, honestly, personally, like I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't even look at this. It's not something I'd be interested in. Even if it does work, it's like I'm not trained to recognize these as much, honestly, and I'm not going to try and force a trade off of it in a live market on wicks, right? But yeah, I mean, we could try. We'll see. We'll do it for the sake of the call because Pete wants to test it. I'm good with that. Maybe I'll learn something from you guys. And it could work, right? Okay, it looks like it failed. Now we're at the extreme. Let me zoom in a little bit on this. This is all happening during like Frankfurt London Open too, which is pretty nice. Let's say this is a nice 1-minute change of character, even 5, like assuming we close above. Yeah, which we did. So yeah, now we can look for, again, I want to drive the point home. I think people get kind of confused by change of character. It's just a fancy term for a liquidity sweep and a breakup, right? Right, that being our break, this being our sweep of liquidity, right? Ideally, this taps into something to the left, probably does, over here. But don't overcomplicate it, guys. That's all a change of character is. Again, look at the FAQ. It's really well outlined. I think it was Albert or Aaron that drew out the markup for it, but that's all it is, right? It's the same as our lower time frame entry model. It's the same one that I teach in my coaching calls, the same one that I've taught before we were ever talking about changes of character in the community, right? Okay, so we'll market enter this because I forgot to set the limit. It's pretty good. Let's see if that holds. Okay, we got swept. That's okay. I'm gonna get out of this position too. Yeah, so a couple zones. I wouldn't even really look at this one here because this has been mitigated. But let's wait till we break like something a little bit more significant here before we keep on trying to chase this trade. Because otherwise you're just going to keep on getting FU, right? At least this one was a little bit more clear in terms of like being a sweep of liquidity. But let's not be too aggressive about it. Well, I'm kind of like approaching this the way I'd approach a live market, but because this is a back testing call, let's do it anyways. Take some more else for you guys. I'm just gonna keep re-entering, getting swept probably. Yeah. Now we're coming deeper, so we swept again, right? Wait for a change of character. We're still bullish on the 15-minute, mind you, so. So we close below. Okay, looks like it completely failed. Well, that's fine. Yeah, we wouldn't be looking to take longs off any of those. No way. Like we're bearish on the 15 now. And let me like illustrate why. Because we broke our previous major structural low here, right? Close below it. So this is now the range I'm looking to play in, right? Yeah, it looks like we kind of like swept. This is a subtle sweep of liquidity, but we swept liquidity on the 4 hour as well. Sort of starting to break down on that too. Let's see if we can catch some shorts now. I'll zoom in on the 15-minute. Mark out some zones you guys feel like would be good. I'll give you equilibrium too, so you can get an idea of where we are.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure, what's up?
I have a
What's your-
question, bro.
Yeah, sure. What's your question? Go for it.
Okay, so on the 4 hour, you highlighted that we're bullish, right?
Yeah, based on
Break
this,
of-
but we're bearish obviously on the daily, right? Like if I were to
Yeah.
pull up a daily chart, you'd see like obviously it's going to smooth out all of these like bullish candles and stuff. You can see like this is our major swing low, and
Okay.
we've broken it, right? But yeah, again with the 4 hour, I'm pretty loose about it, right? Because look, we can produce a reaction off of any of these. Whether it's like this one here, right? Or this one, I know it was just a temporary pullback, and then there was shorts that you could have played off of this, right?
Because
So-
I mean, judging by the equal lows we have or the trend line liquidity we have resting below on the 4 hour, it seems like price is going to sweep and still keep going lower.
Mark, where you're talking about what liquidity, which trend line liquidity? This?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean to a degree, but you could argue like by the same logic, like this is trendline liquidity too, right? And it swept it, right? So I mean, yeah, like it definitely could. I don't really look at it that way so much as like, I mean, yeah, I guess it depends on how you look at it, right? There's
So
definitely
are you
liquidity sitting here, and then yeah, below every like swing point
Are
here
you-
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the forward demand.
Sorry, say that again. Am I interested in this 4 hour demand?
Anticipating on the forward demand where price is heading to right now. Are you anticipating that the forward demand is going to hold, or are you looking to trade the forward demand?
No, I'm not anticipating anything. I'm gonna wait for a reaction on the mid to lower timeframes.
All right. Okay.
I'll take anything, whether it's counter trend or not. Not that I'll take anything, but I'll investigate it and look into it, if that makes sense. Yeah,
All right.
like
Sure.
yeah. So like Taj said, I use any 4 hour supplier demand zone to form a trade idea. Yeah, and then I use the 15-minute for breaker structure, even the 1 or 5 minute, like depending on what it is and the context. The only thing is, so like it's good that you bring this up, right? Because it is a common question. Although I'll pick, even counter trend 4 hour zones, understanding like where we are in 4 hour and even daily structure, at least in this particular market, is important if you want to like swing it or hold it, even like from an intraday perspective, right? Because then you can pull like whatever 20, 40 R out of the market if it continues, right? So if I say, for example, I take a long off of like, I don't know, say that there was a 4 hour rally-based rally here and that taps me in, and I know we're bullish because we've broken like, that structural point, right? This being our low, this being our high, then I can reasonably hold. At minimum, I can target this high in expectation of this, pushing up, right? But because of the nature of the market, remember, it's probabilistic. There's no guarantee that we are going to break this high. It's just higher probability, right? That we're going to continue with the trend. There is a chance that we do this too, right? So at minimum, I'd probably take partials, and that's usually what I do from an intraday perspective, because I don't really swing. I would take partials at level here, and then like one of these levels, right? If I were in a long from this, yeah. So hopefully that makes sense.
Sure.
Cool.
Yo, Rob.
Hey, what's up?
Quick question there. Just as we've swept the major 15-minute low, what's your thought process now? Would you look to trade along for the pullback up, or are you waiting until we get up into premium to take another sell?
So we can, and I'm going to give you guys a bit of like a live example here of where I kind of ate shit in the market earlier this week until today, because I was trying to take a bunch of like pullbacks, right? I think these are good if you're in a short for a hedge, like at least for you guys who are beginner. If you don't have that much of a thick skin for losses, like it can be kind of, I think it's a little bit harder to deal with psychologically, depending. I know it's like very dependent on you as a person, obviously. Trading is a personal thing, but yeah, I mean, you could. And I know like Sam and Albert would definitely like, be interested in taking, longs off of this. You're basically looking at it like this, right? Like this liquidity sweep, and the fact that this kind of tapped into this. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I guess you wouldn't be looking for shorts right now because you're expecting a pullback.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, we're way too deep. I am definitely expecting a pullback, right? The thing is, so, I mean, okay, if you do take it, and we can take it for the sake of this, then we actually missed a bunch of them. It's fine. We'll rewind a little bit. I wouldn't look to really target any higher than like maybe 5R on those because they're counter trend, right? 4 hours bullish. Oh, sorry. I mean, 15-minute is bearish, right? But we're trading the pullback of this 15-minute leg. So something to kind of know, right? And yeah, and again, we don't know how like deep we're going to go or if we're going to continue altogether, right? We don't know if like technically this could be the pullback phase of our daily trend, right? So keep that in mind too. There's a lot of conflicting things, I know, but we'll try to approach it in a way that we can capture something out of the market, and like, whether we're right or wrong, we can still make money with it, right? We can still take losses. But yeah, let's see. Let's rewind a little bit because this is in and around like, what is this, 7 a.m. Eastern, which is a time that I would trade if I were trading New York. So let's pull back a little bit. And we did produce a reaction off of this here, right? This wick. So that's pretty good. Let me delete the equilibrium tool because it's really messy. Just delete all these. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing the history on chart. It's really confusing. Okay, so what am I going to look at now that we've tapped into this, right? Remember, it's a sweep liquidity, right? Again, we know it's counter trend. We can anticipate that there's going to be some sort of a pullback, right? Because we broke our previous structural low. We can reasonably take longs if it's within session, right? Which it is. So few ways that we can look at it. Number one, and this is again really aggressive, we get our change of character in a sense here. I wouldn't really call this so much as this, right? Because we have liquidity sitting here. This is kind of our broader sweep. And then we also close above this high, right? Meaning we can look within this leg for longs. So let's look for that. I don't remember exactly what happens, but I mean, you guys can kind of guide me. Tell me where you want to place entries. I'll slow down price a little bit. Remember, we're within session, which is good. So we built liquidity here. We could even enter market, right? I do this a lot. Like I don't necessarily set limits on everything. Those I'd be taking more losses, but I'll kind of wait and feel out price and see, you know, if I think we're gonna start to push up, right? Yeah, so that's a good level. So this would be an example where if we were in a live market and you want to take a market order, you could just cover that low, right? At minimum, I like doing 2 pips to cover spread, and in the off chance that maybe it comes a little bit lower, which happens sometimes, right? There is also the extreme, which could get tapped into, but it looks pretty decently efficient to me, so I'm good with it. So here's one thing I want to mention, right? If I were in a live market and I started seeing some sort of reaction off of this, this is not the best, like, you know, indicator or whatever of this happening, right? Ideally, what you'd want to wait for if you're being like pretty crazy on the 1 minute, and this is what I do when I set market orders. See how we took out this, basically this area of supply on the 1 minute. The fact that we broke above that, and looks like we're about to close on it. Let's see if we do. Yeah, see how we closed above. I would actually look to potentially take this because we've now shifted 1 minute order flow bullish, right? So we could set a limit on this one as well. So let's do that. And for this one, I'll just cover right at that low, maybe a tick below 2.8 pips. I don't know if it's going to tap us in. We'll see. But to me, this is kind of becoming bullish order flow. It didn't make equal highs, so I don't think it's going to come lower necessarily. And we're building a lot of equals to potentially push up higher now too. Okay, good. We retested it. So it's an okay scaling. I wouldn't take this if I had taken the original position because I'm not risk-free yet, right? So something to note. But we know what happens. It's going to take off from here. And then again, we can just target like 5R for these. Or maybe we'll hold it a little bit. And we'll just hold it to the nearest like minor 15-minute supply, right? Because again, We are in the pullback phase. We don't know if we're just going to pull back this much and then dump through, or if we're going to pull back deeper, right? So even at this level, at New York, actually, let's see if we push up a little bit higher. I don't want to be too greedy about it, right? It looks like price is starting to round off and like basically get a little bit exhausted in its move. So I'm just going to close half of these. Half each. Again, we don't need to like force it or be greedy, right? If it goes up higher, great. If it doesn't, whatever. Remember, as I mentioned before to you guys, we're in. Oh, Pete, you're asking if this is a seconds flip. No, this is a 1 minute flip. The one that I just. It's not even a flip. It was just a break of supply. Right? What broke the supply? What's the origin of it? Right? This broke that supply. I guess it is a flip actually as well because it kind of reacted off of it. But go watch Alex Tricky's video. It's really good. It explains the breaks of supply or demand, which I think is kind of better in a sense because there's a lot of false positives when you look at just like flip zones. We're going to be maybe like taking a lot of decisional candles, taking a lot of L's. So I kind of like the way that Alex looks at it because it's a little bit more reliable. Not just looking at decisionals all the time, which is something I did. I took a lot of losses doing that, honestly. Yeah, I'm from Canada. Yeah. I use a broker called TradeView Markets. It's pretty good. They it's very similar to FTMO in their commissions. So they have like, I think their spreads are 0.1 to 0 on EU. GU, it's pretty low too. Commissions are, I think, $2 or $3 round trip US dollars per lot. So pretty good too. Okay, I think I'm just gonna look to take profit on these, honestly, guys, because it's kind of stalling out here. And well, I guess let's see. We'll push it a little bit more. If we break below here, I'm gonna call it.
Yo, Rob.
Yo, what's up?
Can you say OGs?
OGs? Oh,
Yeah.
geez.
Yeah, like that.
Is that Aaron?
So I was just watching Fargo recently, and I love the way they say G's.
Oh, do you want me to say it like somebody from Toronto? I'm not gonna do that.
You're not gonna do that?
No, I'm not gonna say it like that. No.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't do that type of slang. I know what you're trying to do though. I get it.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm too old for that.
Bro, you're young enough to know what like cap and stuff is. How are you too old for that?
No, I'm just cultured.
I mean, you're just cultured. To be fair, you're cultured enough to have dark charts, so I rate that.
Yeah, that's true. At least on my MT4. Anyways.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure, what's up?
All right, so in terms of the 15 minutes, we obviously in a downtrend, making
Yep.
lower highs, lower lows, and we just broke the structure. Then, as I see, it seems like we have the demand to supply, and then you're looking to sell from the other block that broke the demand, right?
Yeah, sorry, do you mind marking it out? Are you talking about on the 15-minute?
Yeah, in the 15 minutes.
This one here?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, the reason I'm not necessarily like, I don't know if you're talking about this one, but I'm not looking to necessarily sell off of this because we're so deep in discount of this current leg, right?
All right.
Not to say that it won't work, and it looks like it is, but this could very well just be liquidity. I don't know if you guys ever saw like Walt's markup, but he was doing this thing, I think it was on the 4-hour, but something that I've observed a little bit on like the 15-minute too. I've kind of been looking at it all week, just like in hindsight and back testing. You'll notice a lot of the time, if we, I can't remember exactly which way it was, you'd have to look at the diagram, but a lot of the time, like we're going to come either into equilibrium or higher, right? And then we're going to continue down. So to me, this is all just kind of a pullback and like potentially we're going to push up higher, right? And then I think in Walt's markup, again, it was on the 4-hour, he was marking out how potentially depending, and it seemed pretty reliable. I think depending on how deep it pulled back, it kind of gave you a little bit of an idea of whether price was going to follow through and continue to break the previous lower high, right? Whatever your structural lower high was, like with trend, if that makes sense. So yeah, I mean, we could, again, like this is counter to 15-minute trend. I think Suki marked this out. Suki, you love taking counter trend trades. So we could take this because it's in discount, right? It's discount of our overall 15-minute leg. I'm not opposed to that, but again, I'm only going to look to target like maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 hour, like depending on how big my stop is. And because again, we don't know like if this might hold, right? Even though like I'm anticipating that price is going to come up higher, I'm not going to like, take my chances and not secure profit on a counter trend trade. Because how many times have you guys been in a position where you've taken a counter trend trade, it runs 5 hour and it comes back and takes you out, either for full loss or for break even? Happens to me all the time. Still happens to me. So something you guys want to be like careful of, right?
Okay, so trading at a discount and premium, do you think is subjective?
I do because structure can be subjective the way that you mark it out. I think there is an objective. Obviously, there's an objective way that structure is playing out, but like let me give you an example, right? I see a lot of people in the community doing this. They'll just start marking out like substructure levels, right? Say, oh, this broke this, whatever, right? But then really, like, do you remember how I marked out structure? This is what I found more reliable is we broke this high, right? So this is my major swing low on the 15-minute. We broke this high, whatever it was here was our previous swing low. This was our high, broke it, right? Broke up. And then look, then we broke this one. So what broke it? I'm going to look at the high would be this and this, right? So yeah, it can be subjective. Absolutely. And I think to a degree, like, again, you can test this. You can also look at like 15-minute substructure equilibrium, right? But just know that like potentially you're going to get swept, right? Pay attention to swing structure too. Like to me, this is more important, right? I'm okay with, again, like actually, I'm not okay with really taking this. This is what I was talking about before, right? Because it is in the discount over my overall leg. But I guess depending on how you map it out, it is absolutely subjective, but there is an objective way to look at it, right? I'm not saying the way that I look at it is necessarily right either. Like sometimes I'm too loose with it and sometimes I'm too tight with it too, right? So it's a matter of experience. I'm sure I'll get better at it in the future, but it's something like I think everybody should work on it. It's such a like an instrumental part. And I can tell you guys right now, like structure is probably the biggest thing I neglected when I started trading because it's just so confusing to me. And I still struggle with it a little bit. It's normal, right? I found liquidity kind of came more naturally to me because I'm just good at recognizing, where it's sitting, right? And if we sweep it, then I'll look to trade against it, right?
All right.
Yeah. Sorry, I know there's a bit of a long-winded question. I hope it, or sorry, answer. I hope it answered your question though.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
No worries. So this is starting to get pretty weak to me. This high here, kind of testing it. Push price forward. I've only done 2 days of price action. It's pretty crazy. Taking our sweet time. But yeah, we could look to long that. I'll do this for you, Pete. We'll do a limit on it. It's probably gonna be a big stop loss, and we'll do a CE too. I can tell you really want to long it. You're itching for me to put this trade on. There you go. And we built like decent substructural liquidity there, right? This low has liquidity from all of our people longing from here, sitting below it, right? Okay, good, we're in it. Now let's see if we can get a CE. Or if it blows through. Okay, it blew through, cool. Okay, McLovin, we'll take a look at it. This is a bit of a messy zone for me though, I'll be honest with you, because it's like if you look at it, it's kind of been like mitigated already. But we did sweep liquidity into. Let's give it a try. Kind of got like a decent change of character here too. Actually, no, we haven't, not yet. Let's wait for it. Okay, we've broken supply. Telling this week looks high. I'll set a limit here. Just do it off of the wick. We'll do like that, 2.7. Full margin. What's my rule for taking risk entries? My rule for that is I want to see a super liquidity, and ideally I want to see that super liquidity tap into a previous POI to the left at minimum. Like that's the minimum I need for a risk entry. And then on top of that, obviously I want it to align with structure and everything. And if it doesn't, then, you know, I'm not going to necessarily like risk any funds on that. That super liquidity is like so, and sorry, I guess I forgot to mention too, and it is a change of character type of thing, but I want to see that super liquidity then break like the nearest structure on its respective time frame. Makes sense. And that's really what a change of character is, as I mentioned, you know, twice before in this call. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit because we've only done 2 days. I don't know how we get slower and slower every time we do these calls, but I mean, it's because I'm just trying to explain as much as I can to you guys. You can see now we're pulling back deeper into potentially the discount of our 15-minute leg here. Should kind of anticipate it. Right, in the McLovin, that's a good spot for a couple reasons. Number one, it's in discount. Number two, it's sitting above some liquidity. It's not a lot of liquidity, but it's there. And Pete wants to look at the flip zone. Okay, we'll do that too.
Yeah, hit that scooter flip, baby.
Scooter flip. Okay. Oh, sorry, did I say discount? I meant we're in premium. Yeah, we're in premium of the leg for shorts, right? Discount. We want discount for longs. Didn't get tapped in. But hey, good call on this. I don't know who called it, but it might have been me. Did anybody call longs on this? Somebody did. Oh no, it was McLovin. Yeah. He actually called it. That was very good. That would have been a nice trade. I would have TP'd at EQ though. I'm gonna tell you right now, 5R. Pull that. Okay, we're getting out of session now. I'm gonna push forward to the next day. Oh, this might be an Asia trade. Okay, hold on. We're gonna rewind because you did mark that out, McLovin too. You're kind of on point today, man. Pull back a little bit. That's actually a good call. And look, what did we do too, right? We built liquidity and we tapped into it. So we'll take an Asia trade for this. I'm good with that. Oh, actually, this is spread hours. Whatever, let's put it on anyways. It's good. Good call. So again, where's this? This is in the premium of our 15-minute leg, right? Remember, we broke this structural point here. This is our leg. So we'll just set a limit on this. I'll cover the high. Won't be too greedy about it. Let's see if it actually taps us in though. I might have put it too low. Yeah, I did. Okay, this is at spread hours though, guys. So we don't take this trade. But the theory still stands, right? Swap liquidity into a POI. And then looks like we're probably going to push down from here. Oh, there's spread hours. Yeah. Thing is, I wouldn't want to take a trade this late or like right before spread hours, because what happens at spread hours, spreads literally widen to like whatever 15 pips. It's kind of crazy. You don't want to get swept out on that and pay that premium. Or not even slips. It's just you paying the premium. It's just too much. I'm very bearish on this though. Now. I will wait a bit. We could look to retest that FU. The sweep, right? Yep, liquidity sitting there. Good point. All right, let's see. So for this one, I'm going to pull this one already. We'll do another risk entry. Again, just to illustrate that you guys can take these. You can call them, right? And then we'll also try to take a CE on it too. Yeah, we have liquidity to take for later. That's right. Okay, we're in. So that's a nice sweep of liquidity too. Look at that. Oh, and we're out. It's okay. Looks like we came higher. This guy here. Let's mark it up. So let's maybe look for a CE on that. Again, I'm not opposed to it. Remember, we're all within like complex pullback in our 15-minute bearish leg. And yeah, McLovin, yes, good call. Sorry, I kind of playing price too quickly here. A couple places we could look at. You could look at this doji here. And you could do McLovin's. We'll do McLovin's to start. I'll put on both just in case. 2 pip stop loss. So on this too. That cover that high 2.4. Okay. Let's see. Okay, McLovin, we got swept because I didn't put enough buffer. Rewind a little bit. Yeah. I didn't actually cover that high, so that's not. We'll redo it for you, McLovin. This guy's not missing today. I'm gonna take your trades. McLovin, why don't you take over the back testing call and explain to me why you're getting in these? Explain to everybody so we can learn from you. Like half joke. But seriously, good call, McLovin. You're killing it on this. And we're with trend now, so I'm looking to hold that minimum to this 15-minute low. If not, like I'm pretty sure we're gonna break this low too. So this might be a runner, guys. And that was in Asia too. Pretty cool. So we'll skip ahead to oh fuck, sorry. Did not mean to do that. Hope you guys didn't look at what happened. I didn't look, to be honest. I was meaning to skip to Frankfurt. Okay. Either way, we're kind of in the discount. I'm not gonna look to necessarily take any trades. We could try to scale in a little bit, but just know it's gonna be aggressive. And the only reason you would scale in, I think, is if you're in a short from the top here, like we are. So, yeah, that's a good zone. Because it's still within EQ. I like that. Let's see. Then we have this counter trend zone here. Let's see if maybe it pops up to that. But I think the pullback phase is over. I'm expecting we're going to actually take these lows out now. Don't know if we're going to pull back at this point. Got some structural liquidity here in the 15-minute. Let's see. I think to a degree we should have even taken partials here. I'm going to take like 20% off. On that one. Just in case we don't break that low and then we end up holding here. Kind of cover our risk. We'll go BE on it too. we got about 40 minutes left, guys. If you guys have more questions, obviously shoot them away. This is the opportunity to ask them, try to answer them to the best of my ability. Oh, sorry, I missed your thing there. You would have got swept anyways, whoever put that in. Again, I'm not looking to short, right? We're kind of deep in the leg already. The moves happen. That's just my interpretation of it, though. Of course, we could come and sweep all of this too. This could hold, right? But I'm just using expectational order flow here, right? But we even swept it. All right, Pete, we'll take a counter trend trade for you since you want to so bad. And we'll also take McLovin's with trend trade. So McLovin, I'm guessing the reason, auto trader, the reason you want to take that is because we swept liquidity. That's absolutely correct. So we can expect that we might retest the liquidity sweep, right? And auto trade, or not auto trader, Pete, you want to take wicks and counter trend trades? I'm all for it. Let's do it. I'm gonna put a limit on this one for you. Cover the low. Oh, wait, it's the wrong one. Buy limit. We'll just market order this one since we're already in it. You might be right, Peter. Pete. 4 pips on that. We'll set a sell limit on this guy here. Here's the extreme. Quick. I'll give it 3 pips. Okay. Let's see. Pete, you might be good because I think we are due for a bit of a pullback here. And on top of that, like you're buying in discount of the 15-minute leg that we're still in, right? This high and this low. So pretty good. I'm going to look to take 5R on that long though, the minute we get it. If not, like TP it hard here. 2.5R. It's kind of a wide stop. That's my fault. Testing it. Might want to go BE on it. Let's see. Maybe not. We got New York open now. I'm gonna set it to profit for this, just right at the limit of our short for the long, for Pete's long. Oh, Pete, we're building a lot of liquidity there. I think by this point, because we built so much liquidity, I would set this break even and just take my break even. I'll leave it open for you. A nice short right now. You can afford it. You can afford to take a loss on it. And if on the off chance that this does push up, then great. We're just building a ton of liquidity. I think we're going to push down from here. Yeah. We swept it. Swept into a 15-minute wick, looks like. Right here. Which is a 5-minute wick as well. BE it. Oh, sorry, Pete. Didn't see the message. My bad. It's okay. Okay, New York, come on. I think this is one of those instances where, like, obviously price is ranging a lot. And if I were trading this live, I'd probably just sit on my hands a little bit. It's not ideal conditions for me to get in, right? It's kind of like trying to drive your car in during a blizzard. Kind of want to plan for good road conditions. This is a weird analogy. Yeah, messy PA, exactly. We're in a snowstorm right now. I want to wait until we're in the premium of our leg, or like we were earlier with our short. This is like a sunny day for me. I can really push the car, you know, versus in the storm here, you don't want to push the car, you might end up in a ditch, take a bunch of L's, you know. I hope you guys like that analogy. Oh, it's just messing around. Okay, we're gonna push to the next day. This is kind of boring. We're still holding our close below this too. I'm gonna pull. Actually, no, I'll leave it open because we still have liquidity sitting here. Potentially, this short that McLovin called is still like pretty decent, and he's like 5 for 5. So let's see if this one works. Granted, we're gonna have to. Oh man, you're kidding. Let's see if it taps us. Oh McLovin, are you kidding? I'm gonna rewind for you on that one because that's kind of my fault. Get McLovin in on that one. We'll cheat a little bit. It's pretty crazy. The problem is I can't really see on the 1 minute where we should have entered. Let's just see. Oh, okay, I saw my limit there. So, okay, I see the issue. We should have taken the whole buy before sell. I don't know why I said it like that, but we'll modify that and we'll cover the high. That 3.2 pips. There we go. Now we can get McLovin in. There you go. And it's nice, right? Because look, we had all of this liquidity equal highs sitting above. Like, granted, we aren't in the premium of our 15-minute leg. Like, this is still a pretty good trade. I'm good with it. We can hold it. I won't even set it break even yet. It's coming back. We'll let it play out a little bit. You know, on the flip side, we did also tap obviously into this stuff here and swept liquidity. So to a degree, I can see why. And we even broke like 5-minute structure up. I can see to a degree why we're kind of pushing up, but I think overall, like, we're pretty bearish, right? We kind of like, we swept both sides, which is interesting. Now we're heading into spread hours. Okay. Let's see McLovin. Are we going to get swept? This price action is killing me. This is reminding me of like last 2 weeks of EU. Just rangy. Actually, it's not even this bad right now, but this is pretty bad. Like, how do you trade this, right? I mean, you can ping pong the tops and bottoms, which is kind of what we're trying to do. It's a classic like Aaron thing to do. This guy loves playing ping pong and tennis. Yeah, auto trader. I'm not opposed to taking longs here at this point either. Yeah, I know it's kind of counter trend, but I'm down to like buy in discount. We're ranging so hard. Just messy. Let's skip price a little bit. Oh man, we tested it. McLovin, I think we're gonna get swept on this one. I hope I'm wrong. Oh, good, I'm wrong. Okay, we're approaching news now too. Corby tests, yeah. We can take the 5-minute wick. Absolutely, we can. I don't know which one you're referring to. I'm gonna guess it's this one. Let's try it. I'll give it a little bit of buffer. Just do that. We'll be loose with it. See if we can catch along. Because again, look, we built liquidity. Now we're not so much looking at trend on the 50 minutes, so much as like we're basically just playing the edges of the range, right? I'm actually going to look to partial a little bit of your short there, McLovin, because for me, because the price is so rangy and I don't know what it's going to do next. Don't want to take chances on that. So we'll do this one. I'll just close like 30%. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, in software effects, there's a way to download news. It's actually, it doesn't take long, and then it'll just print it on your chart, right? If you hit the news thing, and you hit this news button here, that shows news. I'll put them on all of them actually, including 4 hours, so you have an idea of when we're approaching. Like we're approaching news right now. Core retail sales, US dollar. Doing the ping pong. Yep. Now for this long, same thing. I'm gonna look to TP. I think we actually TP'd at our previous long, the one that I don't know if it was McLovin. You also called it, right? Or Pete. You called along there. We TP'd it at the limit of McLovin's short up here, right? But I'll just manual TP this buy. I don't want to hold it. Because again, I'm still expecting overall that we're going to be bearish here, even though we're consolidating really hard. We might have missed the opportunity to actually TP it. Fair. It's 15 minutes. I'm not going to be greedy about it. Let's see. The minute I hit 5R, whatever, I'll just close. Oh, you want to re-enter your short, eh? Okay. Let's do it. You're gonna get really crazy with it, man. All right, for this one, again, swap liquidity into it, right? We're actually in the 5-minute now, so we could sell it, but I'm gonna wait for a CE. We're at London low. Oh God. Okay, got taken out. We're gonna hold our original sell still, but nice try, McLovin. We got swept. There's just too much liquidity sitting above, right? Yeah. At least this one now. Remember, we're still in our 15-minute leg, right? This one's at least in discount. You can potentially look to take it. There's news nearby. I wouldn't trade this, but again, let's see. Let's see if we can catch something nice on it. Wow, it actually held. All right, so I actually did get a change of character here. I'm gonna rewind a little bit on this, and we'll take this too, McLovin. Just remind me, but we did get a very, 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 very subtle change of character, and I'll mark it out for you guys too, so you can see what I'm talking about, right? Yep, swept this liquidity, right? And then what did we do? We broke. Where did we break? Here, right? So, and that's kind of like the last unmitigated zone. So we'll pull back to that. We'll actually take that trade because that's pretty good. This is what price would have looked like, right? There's our change of character. Sweep, break, simple. And there's nothing really in the extreme that I see that we could take. So that's why it makes sense to actually take this decisional. We can cover the high because it's just, price is not that volatile. Just give ourselves a little bit of insurance. It's fine at the cost of a little bit of profitability, right? We even retest it. Remember, this is news, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to break even for this just in case. There we go. We're risk free on our short. Good. That's what causes the break. Oh yeah, McLovin. Yeah. Sorry. Good call. So maybe McLovin, if that does come tap us out, it'll tap you in. It's basically the same as it's just staying in the trade, not setting a BE. Yeah, if we're going to trade this, I'd make sure it's not a restricted event on FTMO or whatever prop firm you're trading with. Funding talent, Trader Central Fund, whatever it is, Fidelcrest, I don't know how you pronounce it. And yeah, I would set BE on it. Remember, there's always the risk you run of getting slipped on a major news event. Like I think for retail sales, it doesn't always, it's not really the most volatile thing, but certain things like FOMC. Oh, sorry, McLovin. Let's set a limit there, sure. We're pretty deep in discount though. So if anything, this is a scale in that we can be a little bit aggressive with, considering that we are in a short already, right? We can afford to take an L on it. That's how I approached today on EU. I was shorting deep in the premium. because I was in a short from the top, right? I just want to congratulate Brinkman too, because we kind of called the same trade, even though it swept us later. It was nice. Okay, that's no tag for you, McLovin, on that one. For either of these, I'm pulling them. Holy crap, we're selling off hard there. Look at that. Okay, McLovin, let's do it. Let's try this one too. Again, if you guys have questions, go for it. Ask away. But you want to wait for CE? That's fine. We can do that too. I just felt like being aggressive. McLovin. I like that. You're calling these zones. They're working out, but then you still want to take CEs. That's good, man. Probably the right way to approach it. Let's get our equity curve while we wait. Kind of curious. It's pretty good so far. Nice healthy amount of L's there too. But we'll look at this at the end of the call. But momentum's really taking over there. So the thing I forgot to mention actually, because we closed 15-minute structure bearish on this. Now we kind of have what I would say is floating equilibrium in this leg. So let me mark out 15-minute structure for you guys again to just drive the point home, because it's very important, right? That's our high, that's our low. What broke our major swing low? This. What caused it? What's the origin? You could either say this is or this is, but realistically, don't think we're going to try and take a short off of that. So we already did actually. So if anything, this is our high, and you're right, McLovin, this is our extreme. And within our floating, and the reason I say it's floating is because we don't know how much further this is going to go down before it starts pulling back. At least we're in discount. Yeah. And yeah, you're right. This is the swing high. So let's observe what happens in the 15-minute. And if we get a CE that's clear and clean, we can take that, right? But yeah, it's good. We got a lot of like liquidity here. I would say that again is fueling the short, right? All of the long positions that were being covered here, right? Stop loss is sitting here. The minute that price pushes through and takes out those stop losses, what do they have to do to cover their buy position? They have to sell them, selling their position, right? Which then fuels this push down, right? So makes logical sense why structure is going to continue bearish on the 15-minute. Like this is pretty like clear impulsive corrective series of moves, right? Impulse, correction, impulse, right? Now we can expect some sort of correction, hopefully tapping into one of McLovin's POIs, and then change of character, CE, and go, right? We take that on either one of these POI. So let's zoom in. Let's see. I'm going to skip to the next day. So we're kind of like late in session now. And there you go. That ended up being the high. So now this is something that I actually kind of picked this up from my friend Kyle, who I don't know if he's in here right now. He's messaging me on Discord, but he was sort of saying, I don't know if he came up with it on his own, but what you'll notice sometimes is when you're in a leg after you've broken structure or whatever, you can kind of call when the pullback is going to happen when you start seeing a change of character on like the mid to low time frame of that current leg, right? So I'm willing to bet that, and actually we did get it here. This kind of gives us an idea of when the pullback phase is going to actually start, right? So we didn't actually break this high yet, but we did technically break this one, right? So sweep liquidity doesn't break really the origin of that sweep, but I think when we start breaking above this, we can expect that price is actually going to start pulling back and not just continue lower and then pull back later, right? Because it could do this too. And then this could be our overall EQ, if that makes sense. So let's keep playing price. Oh, also we're in Asia, so let's push forward a bit. Built a lot of liquidity here. But anyways, the whole idea of, why we'd even be looking for a change of character counter trend is to anticipate the pullback, not necessarily to trade it. I mean, you could, again, like trade it for 5R, whatever, right? Take early, like profits on it at the nearest, like, let's say 15-minute leg. And it's all like dependent on the conditions and like the price action. In this case, we're volatile enough that we can kind of look at that. I think in current price action, we're pretty corrective. Or like even like this, if you have like a tight consolidating 15-minute range like this, can't necessarily play it like that. But yeah, look, we're just building a ton of liquidity. Of course, there is a chance that this is going to hold itself, right? Like it almost looks like we have a little bit of like bearish order flow here in a way. So something to note. Yeah, doesn't look like it's going to come higher. That was the pullback. Just looking here at potentially the fact that we are in a bullish 4-hour zone, and we've built like some nice liquidity here too, sitting above. Again, this is counter trend. Like I just want to be clear about it. We have liquidity sitting above a POI here on the 15 and 5 probably, and that's nested within the 4-hour, right? There's our 4-hour. There's our 15. Let's quickly look at the 5-minute. Let's see if there's a POI. There is. We can refine it a little bit. Honestly, it doesn't really matter because again, we're gonna wait for the CE if we are gonna try to take a short like that. But yeah, it doesn't look like the pullback was ready. You gotta wait a little. So hold on, let's just analyze this because this is actually happening during London too. So it's kind of a further confluence for me. Again, a bit aggressive, and I wouldn't necessarily say to take this if you weren't in the shorts because it is counter trend. But there, we got to change the character there actually. We even swept all of this liquidity too, right? So yeah, a couple places we can look at. Yeah, all right, one of those two. I think McLovin, you're right. Let's set limits on those. Let's set it on both. We'll be like liberal about like taking a bunch of positions. It's fine. We can afford to take losses, right? From a psychological perspective, we can afford to take losses. Our winners are going to cover it. If you need to do what Aaron said, use 0.1% risk on a small account with like whatever, a fraction of whatever your monthly salary is. Use a little bit of your savings. It's relative. Whoa, look at that. There we go. Now we're pulling back to the area we want. Did it tap us in? No, it didn't. Yeah, what's the R so far? We're floating at 50 R, 25%. And we've done 7 days, about a week, because we started March 10th, right? So maybe 5 days. I don't know. What day of the week is this evening? Wednesday. I've done 5 trading days, like actual trading days, not including the weekend, which it skips, right? Yeah, not bad. Okay, so let's see. Pete, I think it tapped into your wicks on that one. Right? Pete, if you're still there, what do you think? Is that a good wick entry? Even retested it too, right? Look.
Yeah, it looks nice. I'm still testing it myself.
Would have been potentially a nice short there. I'm going to leave these limits on just because whatever, but let's see if it tags us. Looks like it tapped into a 5 here. Hold on. Yeah, it tapped into this. Interesting. Really, you should pull this limit buys off, but we're in New York now. New York, yeah, that was the New York move. Right? Again, we're kind of ranging here now. Let's see. If we pop into, like, you could consider this bearish order flow, because I'm willing to bet that this wick that Pete would have called was a 5-minute supply zone, which it was. Not the cleanest thing. Oh, sorry, it's here. Yeah, not the cleanest thing in the world. I don't know. Let's see. Kind of looks like bearish order flow. This doesn't look as much like liquidity. I mean, it is like trendline liquidity for sure, right? Stop loss is sitting above here, right? But we could potentially short that. It's aggressive though, right? Just know we might get liquidity, liquidated, liquefied, whatever you want to call it. It's a little change of character. Okay, this is, again, very aggressive, guys. I'm not suggesting you take a trade like this, but we are close enough, I would say, to equilibrium that it's maybe worth taking. Just know we could get liquidated, and this might be the one that holds, or this one up here, right? Where, again, this is where our original position, one of our original positions was for shorts. So I'm just looking at this though, and the way that I'm kind of seeing it is a bit of a learning point for me too. Is obviously, let's just break this down a little to give you guys an idea of what I'm thinking. This tapped into something, right? It obviously swept all of this liquidity, right? That's what this is. And we built again liquidity here on the 5/1 minute, right? We retested the FU/liquidity sweep, right? And look, we kind of did it again. We built a little bit of liquidity here. That's not as important so much as, you know, this liquidity and really this liquidity here. But again, it's all very subtle. And ideally, we can look to take, let's say that's mitigated pretty much. I'd look to take that, which I think we just tapped into. So let's test it. I don't know if this is going to hold, but I want to rewind and see what happens if we do take that trade. So I'm going to pull back to it. This is obviously like a risk entry. And we'll try to take a retest of it too. But I'm going to go like this. I'm just going to cover. I'm going to give it a tight stop loss too. So, you know, if we're wrong, we're wrong. We take the L. If we're right, then we profit nice off of it. If we know it taps in. Let's see if we get a C on this too. So I'm going to actually look for a nice, like, clear. Yeah, I would say that breaks that swing point. There's no like S to D flip zone or anything, but we did get like this substructure, like very minor break, right? I wouldn't say this is, I mean, it's kind of a change of character if you look at it like this. So this thing's not even selected, right? Break, like sweep liquidity. This is so subtle though, right? This is the type of trade, again, I would only take it if you were in the shorts and you can afford to take it. We can afford to take it. We're up 50R, right? Almost 60R. But yeah, I think you could scale in on that. We won't take the scaling. Let's just see. But that would be like your very risky confirmation entry. It actually looks like we're gonna get swept now. So let's maybe not. Later, Rory. Thanks for coming. So is this change in direction for 15-minute time frame with confluence of 4? I'm not sure what you do. You mind reiterating like your question? Oh, we're still. Oh, I'm gonna actually TP our longs here too, or take our limits off, because just realized how we got tapped into that. I definitely would have TP'd here at the EQ. Let's skip that. See if this takes us out or not. Really retest it again, eh? Crazy. just very rangy price action again. I think this is a good case study for you guys though, right? Oh shit. Yeah, taken out. We would have got slipped on that. I wasn't even paying attention. FOMC. Oof. Well, there goes like a bunch of our R. Okay, we'll rewind a little bit because I did not intend for that to happen. I wasn't really paying attention. So, okay, it's an FOMC meeting. Guys, don't trade this stuff. Like, it should be a lesson, right? That could have easily slipped us into like negative like 20R, right? So I'm going to close. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take partials on most of these just because like I wasn't paying attention. We'll do 50% on some of them just to lock in some of that profit. Because again, if we're in these positions, knowing that we're approaching an FOMC type news event like that, like honestly, we should just close all of these by that logic, right? And BE them. So here, we'll do it this way. Again, so here's the reason I would close it though. Because if you're in this position and it slips past your stop loss, like you're going to take a multiple of like negative R on that. So it really doesn't make sense to even stay in the trade. And this has happened to people. Like we've seen it happen, right? It's a known thing. Like, why expose yourself to the risk, right? Okay, whatever. I'll do 80% on all of them. You got to take some sort of L on that because I was not paying attention. All right. Let it take us up. Both of them. Okay. It's okay. We're still up like whatever. Yeah, exactly what Sean is saying. You'd rather cry missing the R than getting slipped into negative 100R and then owe the broker your house or whatever, or blow your FTMO account. Like, why would you do it, right? Don't be like NFP watch, like Brian. I think he this guy didn't know about the NFP one day, traded the Friday, and then luckily it was only one of his accounts, so he got it back pretty quick. Good for him. Okay, 4 hours on. Yeah, let's look at it. McLovin, I think you're talking about this one, right? Here, this one. Oh, this is stupid. Let's take one more trade and then we'll wrap it up. I kind of want to go over the stats a little bit on this. Granted, I know we did some rewinding and stuff. A lot of the trades were McLovin too, so. Again, the focus here wasn't to necessarily look at like trying to get perfect entries or anything. I wanted to focus on 15-minute zones. And I think we covered that pretty well in this session for you guys. So a lot of good learning points. I almost think we're in a way we're improving on like what we cover every week on this or every 2 weeks on this. So it's good. If you guys have like ideas for stuff like this, yeah, people check that out. Maybe I can run that through the browser. If you guys in the future have any ideas for like kind of what you want to focus on for the session, shoot me a DM and we can like go over it. I'm always open to that. I just try to switch it up every week. I know we're doing the same pair and stuff, but I know like last week we tried to do, I can't remember if it was last or like 2 weeks ago or 2 weeks before, where we did one where we just did basically no rewinding again. And like, I think we went into like deep drawdown and recovered it. That one was kind of a little bit more focused on psychology. Yeah, we can do GU. This one was more focused on 15-minute structure and POIs, right? I really wanted to like make sure you guys pay attention to that. And again, I think it's relevant to the way like GU and even EU have been like trading recently, right? They've been like tight consolidating ranges. I took a bunch of L's at the start of the week, like just to be transparent. I now like made it back today, made a lot today. It was really good. But like, that's the nature of it, right? Like you kind of have to adapt to what price action is doing. Nothing's always going to work perfectly 100% of the time. So yeah, mapping structure, I feel like I did that pretty well in the 15-minute today, but it's something we'll continue to do for future sessions. McLovin, we can do GU next time. Yeah, you know what, let's do GU next time. I will say this, I haven't traded GU in probably like 2 or 3 months, to be transparent with you guys. And I was trading like kind of a different thing on it. I was doing like 5 and 15-minute risk entries, sweeps liquidities, kind of similar to what we covered today, like the risk entries McLovin was telling me to put on. But you know, we'll give it a go. just have to bear with me a bit. Like I'm not as well versed in the characteristics of GU as I used to be because I've just been like solely focusing on EU, right? But not opposed to back testing it with you guys, and you know we can rewind whatever, and even if we don't take L's, I'm sure we can find a way to make it profitable because I've traded GU and AU before. And if you guys know like the history of my forex trading career, you'd know that like I used to trade US dollar CAD and dollar yen. I used to just trade support resistance, and I was like break even doing that, maybe a little bit profitable. So I just trade ranges. Yeah, you guys help me with GU. And again, I'll try to apply whatever knowledge I can, try to teach you guys whatever, right? But we'll do a little back and forth on that one. But yeah, you know what? Let's wrap it up here because I think we did pretty decent this session. Let's quickly look at the statistics and equity curve on this one. Again, this is not like super accurate because we did rewind a little bit, but tried to keep some L's in there. We did pretty good overall. Let's look at the statistics a bit. So again, the data is not really the most accurate thing. We took 30 trades. We lost about half of them. That's pretty good. A little less than half. So our strike rate was over 50%. Considering we did rewind and stuff, I'd say realistically, what was our actual strike rate? Probably in the realm of, I don't know, 35 to 45%. Like if we're being real, like just to adjust for the fact that we rewinded, right? So keep that in mind. I honestly would have been profitable with it. I think we still would have been in and around like the 20R mark, 10%, had we not rewound and took some of McLovin's like killer trades there. And that was all in just like 7 days, right? We did March 10th to the 17th. So it's about a week, right? 10 days minus 2, like for the weekend, right? 8 days. Oh no, sorry, 7 days. So we did about 5 trading days, right? Minus the weekend. We would have made 10R or 20R, 10%. That's a pretty like good week if you ask me. So yeah. Thanks for coming, guys and girls. Again, if you guys have any other ideas, please DM me and we'll try to accommodate for it. Take it easy, everybody. Bye. Oh, and have a good long weekend, by the way, for those of you that are Canadian and American. I know it's the holidays, so enjoy. Can't figure out how to end the call. It doesn't let me do it.